the train delays to be here with us today. I'm super excited to be in this beautiful city with everyone. You all represent over 800 customers, partners, and ACEs in attendance this year. Some of you have been using Alteryx Designer since the 1.0 days. That's right, since 2006. Some of you since the launch of Server for scaling and sharing analytics in 2014. You may have been using Alteryx just 2 years ago when we added 2 major additions to the platform, Connect for data cataloging and Promote for model management. And today we bring all of you, newer customers and longtime customers, the end-to-end Alteryx analytics platform. And of course, we are not stopping there. Everything we're doing to enhance your self-service analytics experience is inspired by you. Over the past year, we've delivered on 192 of your requests, and we have over 100 more currently in progress. Please continue giving us your feedback. We are listening and committing to delivering you what you need regardless of your department, industry, or role. Excuse me. In fact, at our Inspire conferences around the world just this year, we saw representation from 19 different industries across 10 departments from 49 countries, in companies that range from 5 employees to over 50,000. But you all have one major thing in common. You are all at some point on the analytic journey and are committed to modernizing your processes and technology to drive a digital transformation. Now, we just heard from Pepper earlier on the power of data-driven decisions. But getting started with data isn't easy. You have a question, but legacy technology and processes can make the answer really hard to find. It's time to leave the manual and mundane processes involved in prepping, blending, and analyzing data, play to your passion, and embark on self-service analytics. The most common legacy data source continues to be spreadsheets. 88% of data workers are locked in spreadsheets, and what's worse is 70% are doing the same 5 functions. And that's because these have to be done over and over. It's not repeatable and not scalable. Alteryx Designer allows you to automate these analytic processes to avoid spending hours upon hours writing manual formulas, or even worse, cutting and pasting. Our recent analysis of the most popularly used designer tools proves that a lot of you have already turned to Alteryx to automate these processes. And we've added a lot to the platform over the past year to make embarking on self-service analytics even easier, like new base maps to give you a more granular view of your spatial data, and yes, we have added more support for our international customers. We also added the interactive results grid so you can see how your data is changing as you work with it along the workflow, and multi-point caching to get you the answers you need in a faster and easier way. Now, once you've found your answers and made initial insights, what actions should you take? How can you predict outcomes and even prescribe next best steps? Well, it's time to step into the spotlight and unleash advanced analytics. But that can be a challenge. A recent LinkedIn job report stated that there are over 151,000 data science jobs currently open. And that's because, just as the Super Retail Group found, there's simply a talent gap within organizations and not enough people with data science degrees. The Alteryx Predictive Suite can help fill this gap by allowing people with no R or Python skills to build models. In fact, over the past year, we've seen the usage of our code-friendly predictive tools grow by 200% and our code-free tools 170%. Now, we had a big focus this past year on helping you unleash advanced analytics, like adding Promote to help you monitor and manage your real-time models and processes in an easy way. We also added the Jupyter Notebook with Python integration to make sure the business and the data scientists can be collaborating in one analytic process. And we've optimized the tools across our predictive suite to get you the models you need as quickly and efficiently as possible. Now, once you've embarked on self-service analytics and unleashed advanced analytics, you're ready to turn it up to 11, break down silos, and scale across the entire organization. This means making sure HR is leveraging the same data as finance, making sure sales is making the same insights, as marketing. After all, 70% of digitally advanced companies have figured out how to solve this exact problem, how to work cross-functionally. A lot of you right here today at Inspire have this opportunity. There were over 800 companies that are Inspires across the world this year, with 2 or more departments in attendance. The major question to ask yourself is, if you have 2 or more departments here, are you working together? If not, Alteryx is here to help break down those silos. For those of you that have leaped to this step, like Macquarie Bank has, we've done a lot to make sharing and scaling simple, like asset recommendation to help get you to the next question and answer. We've made major scheduler updates to provide you more seamless automation and time zone support and server to better enable our global customers. But to really drive transformation, it takes altering history by building a culture of analytics. Now, this is truly a transformational shift that requires everybody in the organization to be on board. It's not easy, but I promise you it'll be worth it. McKinsey research finds that breakaway companies create collaborative cultures that foster innovation and propel analytics initiatives throughout the organization. Alteryx is here to help you with that transformation. You're looking at the split of roles in this very room today. 22 different job functions. You are all proof that it takes more than analysts to drive change. It takes buy-in from management and C-level and collaboration from data engineers, data scientists, and more. Breakaway companies will figure out ways to modernize their analytics to include everyone in the organization, regardless of roles or responsibilities. To help you build a culture of analytics, Alteryx remains a completely open platform that can allow you to connect to any data, integrate with any preferred point solution, integrate with code from any language, and output to any format. For our globally distributed customers, we added 4 languages over the past year and now support 8 languages across the world, with a 9th coming soon. And to ensure everybody in the organization is speaking the same analytics language, we provide you with a business glossary. As you continue along your analytics journey, Alteryx is here to be your central platform to help you modernize your technology and processes every step of the way. Today, we're excited to show you what we're doing to amplify the Alteryx platform to provide you a more seamless, smarter, and simplified platform as you propel toward your digital transformation. Let's start by taking a look at how we're amplifying the way that you embark on self-service analytics. To show you more, please welcome Nick Jewell to the stage.
All right, good morning, Sydney. Ashley has been talking a lot about disruptive innovation this morning. And in the private sector, we've seen nothing short of a data-driven revolution, as traditional, centuries-old businesses like the hospitality sector have faced complete upheaval in the face of platforms that offer accommodation without even owning a single room to let. Of course, I'm talking about Airbnb, with Sydney regularly tracking in the top 5 global cities for listings. Thanks to Inside Airbnb.com, I can get an amazing data set of listings, reviews, prices from across the city to embark on my journey of analytics, and to show you what's new and what's next with our platform that's going to make it easier than ever to help you solve your challenges. Now, with all this data at my fingertips, I'm probably starting off just like you. Access to so much information from files, databases, applications. How do I work out which data sets are most relevant and most trusted? At Alteryx, we solve this problem through the first step in our platform, by using Alteryx Connect. Now, Connect is our starting point for sharing, curating, and discovering relevant and trusted data assets that might otherwise be hidden or overlooked in your organization. At its heart, Connect is an integrated, searchable data catalog aimed at helping you hit that first mile of analytics absolutely running. So, we're going to begin with a demo over here to my left-hand side, and we'll start off by searching for my Airbnb data. And although I'd like to say that we've got everything in a single pristine data warehouse, I think you and I both know that's probably not the case. My data's just as likely to be spread across network drives, across different forms of storage, and probably in just as many data formats. So let's begin. I'm going to type in my query, and with Connect, we get a chance to search basically all of the dark corners of your organization in a few simple clicks. Now, when I've added my query, if I zoom in on the screen for you here, Connect is suggesting a few relevant data sources that might be of interest. And I'm particularly drawn to data sources that are tagged as certified. Now, this means that someone in the know has given this the official seal of approval. Now, let's take a closer look. We'll click in on this particular asset, and Connect takes us to the main page for our content. And we get a whole bunch of useful information with asset descriptions, we get details. Over here on the right-hand side, we get ownership information, as well as activity associated with the data. Now, analysts are genuinely going to gravitate towards popular data sources. We call this the wisdom of the crowds. Connect helps guide users in that direction. But Connect is also a collaboration platform where we can interact with our experts. So if you have any questions, concerns, or maybe opinions about data, we can use comments as a way of tracking these conversations with experts, with data owners, with analytics champions from across your organization. And what's great here is that the comment threads that you see on the screen get attached to our data assets so that a question gets answered once and then is made visible to all future users, saving everyone time to find the answer that they need. Now, I can open this data source directly from inside Alteryx Connect, or instead I can head over to Alteryx Designer and pull that information directly to where I perform my analytics. So I use global search up in the top right. I can simply drag and drop into a workflow and notice that my data is instantly available in Designer. I can get straight to work. So all of that friction, all of that time wasted searching for data, working out if I can trust the data, gone, leaving me more time to really get to grips with solving my challenges. Okay, so back to our little story. Airbnb, it offers accommodation that can be so radically different from the hotel chains that it displaces. After all, you're staying in someone's home, so you often get personal touches from your hosts. What I'm going to highlight to you now are some of the personal touches suggested by our own community and implemented recently in the platform. One of those little touches comes from how we connect to our data. And the feedback from all of you is that sometimes this can be a little challenging. Now, if I need to work with data from CSVs, Excel files, maybe an Oracle database, and Google BigQuery, this used to mean juggling lots of different types of analytic components to bring all of these together into a workflow. However, since 2019.3, thanks to your feedback, we introduced a simplified connection experience for data where everything is available in one place. So now, if I drag and drop an input data block onto the canvas, I'm now greeted with options that get you working with data faster than ever before. So whether that's recent data sources, maybe that you opened 5 times already today to continue where you left off. Maybe it's saved connections to your favorites, or maybe it's a list of file formats that Alteryx supports, and you might be surprised by just how many there are. It's also just as easy to view different types of data connections that can be made, really with a one-stop shop experience for bringing data from all these diverse sources into your end-to-end workflow. So all of this at your fingertips, no more juggling multiple tools, means more productivity and better ease of use for you. But here's a challenge. Ever needed to augment your analytics, maybe with tabular data from websites, but you're not quite sure what to do? Dirty secret, who's ever had to retype data into an Alteryx workflow just to make sure it lines up with what you're bringing back from a database? It'd be much nicer to bring this data seamlessly into Designer, right? I'm going to head over to a web browser and we're going to take a look at some data from around Sydney's neighbourhoods and the cost of living in those different areas, depending on the size of house that you need. Now, I can simply select data from this table. I'll bring back a small sample here. I'll right-click, copy, head back into Designer, right-click, paste. And boom, the data has arrived in a usable tabular format, and I can get on with my work without wasting any time having to retype. So these are some of the essentials of how we've made it easier to access data and get to work. You've got an integrated experience for a social data catalog, basically having all of your company's tribal knowledge at your fingertips, a single access point for connecting and accessing data, and life hacks for copy and pasting from the web, all together thanks to suggestions from our global community. All right, so speaking of life hacks, let me just tidy my workflow up here. Remember the bad old days where we'd work with some data in Alteryx, start to build up some great insights, and then send the data to Excel for a little bit of sorting and filtering before bringing it back to Alteryx for more complex work? Well, a recent addition to the platform means that fragmented work between two completely different products is well behind us. The interactive results grid gives us all the flexibility we need to explore our data without the cognitive load of having to juggle multiple systems. Let's take a look. So, how easy is it to use? We'll look at our Airbnb listing data that we just dragged in from all these different neighbourhoods in Sydney. We've got quite a lot of data here. You can see over 13,000 different residences that are available for the night or for longer. And first of all, I'm going to zoom in on a particular field. So I want to explore neighbourhoods inside Sydney. And I'm particularly interested in the Manly area, because I'm a Manly kind of guy. So let's take a look. Apologies for the accent. So I'm going to go into the interactive results grid. I'm going to type my query, click enter, and immediately the data reduces down from 13,000 records to just over 650. But I might want to go further. In fact, not only is the data changing in the results grid, but we're also getting updates to the interactive map in our browse window. So narrowing down the listings to just the area that we want. So far, so good. What's the next thing that I need to know? Cost. So each listing comes with an indicative price for the night. Now, obviously, these can fluctuate throughout the year, but it's a solid starting point. We can also sort using our interactive results grid to order all of these properties from, let's say, the most expensive down to the cheapest, so I can start to work out what actually looks like a bargain. So filtering, sorting, both available directly within the grid. Another great way to find what I need is actually to use the search bar that's actually built into the results grid. So let's say that I want to search for a mention of a particular vibe in this area. So I'm going to look for something funky. So let's put in funky, click enter. We're rapidly getting down to where we need to be. It's funky, it's manly. I'm now seeing just 9 properties to consider, and I can work out where they are on or near the beach. So something to meet every price. All of this handled directly within Alteryx Designer, a real time saver. So we get a nice, manageable result set without ever leaving our analytics zone. All that's left for me to do is to make these explorations more permanent so that we don't lose all of these decisions when we click away from the results grid. So a simple click in the grid menu lets me take all of those filters, all of that sorting options, and apply them as new components directly into the workflow so that the results remain consistent when new data arrives. Now, this is a real time saver, and it helps you share your intelligent decisions and your steps with your users. Now, you're working on disruptive analytics, and there are so many different angles to explore. So whether that's visualizing the distribution of prices or availability, or incorporating additional dimensions to your data, especially with our Airbnb content, augmenting the listings beyond simple tables of data lets us understand not only the supply side numbers for a huge global business, but also, critically, where that business is happening. So this idea of location-based insight is one of the primary reasons we include base maps as part of Alteryx Designer. So let me show you how we're investing in an even richer experience when it comes to maps and spatial data. So we've already seen how we can quickly navigate through an enormous volume of data to find the subset that we're looking for, but with our new enhanced base maps, we're getting up-to-date, refreshed spatial data that includes major and minor roads, local features, even local businesses marked here on the maps. If we want to focus on these features and the buildings some more, we can actually switch to a highly detailed satellite imagery map. And let's hope the Wi-Fi plays nicely with us. So we're looking here at Bondi Beach, and our map box tiles can even pick out individual surfers in the bay, as well as local businesses and points of interest. Now, these maps are available globally, but we also have location insights available specifically for Australia and New Zealand, featuring TomTom-based geocoding and drive times completely integrated into the Alteryx experience. So how far can you get from downtown Sydney to the coast in 30, 60 or 90 minutes? You can get an easy answer with Alteryx and its intuitive spatial capabilities. Pretty neat, huh? So, mapping is just one of the ways that we can help analysts get to grips with the story that's locked away inside their data. So let me show you how Visualytics brings a whole new level of insight to the data as I work. Okay, so anytime I add a browse block to the workflow, I gain access to interactive, inline visuals that help me profile my data. So simply by clicking on any column, Designer gives me a breakdown of what's under the covers, the most common values, the distribution of the data, and most critically, whether I'm going to find any data quality problems, like missing data, that might actually affect my business and analytic outcomes. If I want to bring visualization into my analysis directly in the workflow, then I can incorporate some of the Alteryx reporting capabilities to achieve this. Now, very recently, Wired magazine and other journalists have started looking at this Airbnb data from around the world, basically to see how technology disruption, on one hand, often causes local rules to bend in different ways. So one of the ways we want to analyze listings for availability is basically to understand how each Airbnb host is making their property available during the course of a year. Now, I'm particularly interested in analysing highly available properties. So that means properties that are rentable for, let's say, more than 90 days per year. And we can use this Alteryx workflow to calculate whether a property's availability falls into a high or low group. Then we can roll up that data as an average value per neighbourhood district. So we visit our reporting palettes up here at the top of the screen for a whole suite of either static or interactive options to tell our story. So maybe we want an interactive bar chart showing the range of availability across the city by neighbourhood. And it really is very easy. Let's pick up our interactive chart from the palette, drop it into the workflow. We're going to click Configure Chart. And as that starts up, we're going to select the various options that we're looking for. So I'm going to add a layer to my chart. We'll make sure we're working with a bar chart. We'll add in our neighbourhoods as the x-axis. We'll add our high to low ratio as the y-axis. Complete interactivity, but also complete control at this point. So I'm just going to tweak my chart, make it a little bit wider, let's say 1500 pixels. And pretty quickly, we are looking at a nice, clean chart that's interactive, sorted neighbourhoods based on their availability profile. Really easy to get to that visual insight that I'm looking for. Now maybe we also want to encode this data into a thematic map where the actual geography of the city itself makes the data pop. So on average, if we drop in a thematic map and take a look at how we work in Alteryx, I'm going to zoom into the results once that fires up, we can pretty much see a concentration of high availability properties over to the west with low availability properties towards the coast. So with Alteryx Designer, we're going from data to insight to action faster than ever before. And then we get to distribute our content by email or publish to the Alteryx gallery for further collaboration and review. So it's ease of use, it's depth of functionality, it's seamless integration, which are the hallmarks of the Alteryx analyst experience. And remember, everything that you see on screen is really just a repeatable recipe for your business logic. These are the steps you need to automate your analytic outcomes. So coming soon, you're going to be able to go to your data inputs, select a field that you'd like to trace, and see that field's journey through your analytics. Now for impact analysis alone, this is massive, a huge time saver for tracking and tracing critical data elements throughout your process. So a big thank you to the Alteryx community for making these innovative leaps forward. Okay, now this is really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the first steps in your analytics journey. As ever, the Alteryx beta program is online and available for customers to check out what's coming next, and your feedback will always drive the next phase of evolution for the platform. Okay, so we've seen just how easy it is to get to grips with data wherever we may find it, to explore and make sense of complex spatial data sets, to get a feel for what the pulse of the city looks like in terms of where people like to stay. But we can do so much more when it comes to unleashing advanced analytics into this process. In our story, since its inception, Airbnb has quickly gone to disrupt the travel industry. There's no question it's now one of the most valuable privately held companies in the world. In Sydney, it appears that, at least for the moment, supply has reached a plateau of some sort, with the platform adding fewer new listings each year. But demand, on the other hand, continues to grow at a serious pace and is not showing any signs of slowing down. So let's take that next step in our analytics journey, looking into the future to figure out what could happen next and what's the right course of action to take. And we understand that this kind of future-facing analysis can be challenging. Do you guys need to learn R or Python, or can you still work code-free? How do you choose the right model for your situation? Now, with my Airbnb data, it's all very well to explore data interactively or to understand which neighborhoods have the most listings, but I need deeper insights, particularly around pricing. What can I expect to pay in Campbelltown versus Bondi? What's the going rate for a full house rental in Liverpool, and how does that change over time? So when McKinsey says that 74% of organizations want to use predictive analytics, but only 23% actually do, we have got a serious gap. Sometimes in talent, sometimes in aspirations, but all the time when it comes to being competitive with data. If I can make a forecast, a classification, a prediction using my high-quality automated workflows, then I'm arming my teams with intelligence that others simply won't have. So let's take a look at some of that pricing data for the Surrey Hills region of Sydney. Achingly cool, full of wine bars, vintage markets, hashtag trendy cactus, if you're following along. Gotta love those hipsters. Suppose I want to build a model that explains pricing in this neighbourhood so that we can take all these factors into account. Location, property details, amenities, and more. And start to build a capability inside Alteryx, a predictive model that can generate smart insights for our current listings and hopefully identify to me some great places to stay once Inspire winds down. So the product and engineering teams at Alteryx have got your back. Today, I'm excited to demonstrate an Alteryx feature that's just about ready for prime time. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you assisted modeling. So with this new capability, I start with my data in a workflow, and assisted modeling picks up the process from there. So we're going to take a look, start a brand new model from scratch. And from my data set, I want to predict the price of an Airbnb listing in Surrey Hills. So price is going to be my target variable. If I just zoom in on the screen for you here, you can see we've automatically identified that this is a regression problem. We are trying to predict numbers rather than categories. I'm going to click Next and confirm my selection. And now assisted modeling is helping us figure out what data types we're going to be dealing with. So it's going to make automated estimations of our columns for further review. And again, I'll zoom in quickly. For example, top of the screen, our ID field might contain numbers, but it's flagged for review. And down below, we can see lots of other assignments for the other. It includes the probability, according to assisted modeling, that we're dealing with IDs, numeric data, categories, or true-false indicators. Now, it's not always going to be clear-cut obvious, so we also get a preview of the data to make up our own minds. This is just one of the many little nudges as to why we call this assisted modeling. The human is always in the loop, and if we need to override the suggestions, well, we simply use the drop-down. So let's change ID to an ID, and that feature now gets dropped. If these terms that I'm using are still a little too technical, over on the right-hand side, we have a glossary. We've got you covered. It's a primer for all the data science language that we're using, available at your fingertips. Let's click Next, and we'll move on. Now, this being a real data set, we've got a few data quality issues in play. So not every field contains perfect data, and in this case, our numeric data can easily be replaced with the median, or the middle, of that column's distribution when we find missing values. So once again, this is guidance. The final choice is entirely up to the user. Now, once selected, we'll take our next step in choosing the features that will help our model make price predictions. Now, assisted modeling reviews the data once more and now suggests which columns we should include or which columns we should ignore. Now there are some general data science rules of thumb that say you shouldn't include features that are either too highly or too weakly associated with the target field. It's kind of a Goldilocks situation actually. We want our features somewhere in the middle so that they don't overwhelm a model's predictions. Now, I'm generally going to go along with the recommendations on screen. I'm definitely going to remove these weakly associated features, but I also want to take out these really highly associated fields relating to beds and bedrooms, which might also be really closely related to each other, as well as the listings price. Now, with assisted modeling, we're not working with a simple black box. You are absolutely encouraged to use your own domain expertise to make the call alongside the data. All right, data cleansed, features selected. We're ready to choose from a range of model types to start our experiments. Now, depending on whether you're working with classification or regression, you can expect to see a different set of algorithms with more to be added over time. And you pick your models based on trade-offs between expected accuracy, speed, and interpretability. So there's more information available in these menus for the pros and cons of each of these approaches, as well as common use cases to help you get started. In our particular example, how about we select all of these models, and with a simple click, all of our models start training on our listings data, and they get to see the results appear in real time once a model finishes this training process. So for each of these models, I can now get an overview of basically how much variance it explains from the overall data set. We can see at the top here, the random forest appears to be the winner, explaining just over 50% of the variance in this simple example. We also get a regression overview looking at actual versus predicted results. So the linear regression is looking particularly bad, and it gets tighter and tighter to that line. We also get key charts showing us the relative importance of all the different features we chose when determining that final predicted price. Up at the top, the accommodates field is clearly the big hitter here, probably not so surprising. I'm going to be paying more for a property that can host more guests, but we also see the relative impact of the other features as well. Assisted modeling even lets us see negligible features that really had no overall impact on the price, so bed type as an example. Now we can use this information to go back, to iterate on our experiment, maybe select some different features or tune the model in other ways. However, if we're ready, we can now select our winning model from the leaderboard on the left-hand side and have assisted modeling build out a complete data science workflow using our new Python-based machine learning tools. So all of the steps that we were guided through now become capabilities in their own right as part of a visual, repeatable workflow. So if you're a traditional data scientist using Alteryx alongside your Python or your R code, you can pick up these capabilities directly without the assistance, knowing that you're gaining access to best-in-class data science libraries under the hood and as part of your automated machine learning pipeline. It's all about getting you to that repeatable solution faster than before. So with our model in place, let me just zoom out a little bit here on the workflow, we can pick up some new listings and see how that model fares in terms of making predictions. Let me simply hook that new data into the prediction tool at the very end of the workflow and execute. And what will happen is it'll go through the training, the building of the model, and then the scoring for those new records, all as part of this simple workflow with the brand new results to the right-hand side of the results grid. If I just zoom in for you here, not too shabby, pretty quick results, predictions available so I can get on to work. It really is that simple. Now this, of course, is just the start of the process. What we call the last mile of analytics is all about getting your citizen data science code-free assets or your code-friendly data science models into production or into the hands of business users or embedded inside customer-facing services or products. With the end-to-end Alteryx platform, this can be as simple as dropping a deploy block from our predictive suite directly into a workflow, or it might mean exposing a workflow's logic as an analytic application on the Alteryx server. For a data scientist, it could be a simple line of code in your Python or your R scripts to deploy their model directly to our real-time model management solution, Alteryx Promote, that exposes predictions through a secure API that can be called in milliseconds whenever it's needed to take prescriptive action. So Sydney, with these capabilities, we're putting you and your analytics into the spotlight. Assisted modeling will help you unleash your potential. The new machine learning tools help bridge the gap between your data scientists and the business value they can provide. And Alteryx Promote takes care of the last mile of analytics to make your models operational. Okay, so we find that organizations who are successful with the first two steps of the journey tend to reach a tipping point when analytics needs to break free of a single user, a single team, or maybe a single department. A repeating message is that without a clear data strategy and access to governed and trusted data, teams tend to make localized decisions, which ends up causing significant issues downstream with duplication or competing data sources, or just difficulty in finding and accessing the right data. So when we look to scale analytics, we need to take all of these factors into account, and I want to give you a preview of what's to come as the Alteryx platform evolves to meet these needs. So server.next is our internal code name for the re-platformed server, re-envisioned for ease of use. It includes all our latest innovations and is built on a modern tech stack to ensure cross-platform viability. Let's take a look via a demo. Over to my new tab, I'm just going to sign in. I'm going to go ahead and log in as myself. I'll be accessing a slice of server.next as a site administrator. So as a site admin, I'm a combination of power user, team lead, analytics god. I like to do analytics work here, but I also manage a few users and content as well. And what you're seeing, first of all, is my dashboard. It's a view of my analytics neighborhood. Who's doing what, creating things, modifying workflows, and so on. And everything looks pretty healthy and good. I'm going to first of all focus in to the left-hand side to take a look at my files, which is where I manage my content. Now, we asked you frequently, how do you manage your content? And the answer we got was very clear. You like folders. You like creating them, nesting them, copying them, sharing them, and many, many other activities as well. So we created a whole new virtual file system just for you. And this is where you store your workflows, your data, your apps, and more. So let's jump in here. I'm going to click on Files, and we're going to create a brand new folder. So let's add a folder on the right-hand side. I'll be imaginative and call this My Folder. I'm going to click Save. And once it's created, let's just check where we are. We can't have a perfect demo, can we, without something else slightly wrong? Let's try that again. And we create this folder one more time. Oh, we're already here. I tell you what, I'm going to use one of these existing folders. How about that? Fantastic. So once it's created, let's go and add some brand new content. So I'm going to head over to my Windows Explorer, and I can simply drop in maybe a simple workflow. And I can literally drag and drop a workflow from my desktop, and it's uploaded and ready to go. So I can now run this workflow interactively. I can put it on a schedule, maybe to run every hour. I can also grab some data to go alongside this workflow. And once that data is uploaded, again, almost instantly, server.next will profile pretty much everything so that my data source is both findable and usable inside this system. So once I'm set, I can now share this with my colleagues. And this means either individuals or groups of users. So I can maybe set up to share with some users here. The managers group looks pretty good. And I can give them permissions. So maybe I want them to be able to edit or download, but I definitely don't want them to be able to delete this content. After all, it was hard enough to get there in the first place. So it's as simple as that. I click share, and those permissions are now in place. And in fact, if I head back up to the top of the Files menu, we can see that when it comes to sharing, transparency is very, very important. It's actually front and center for the whole new server experience. So in this sharing area down here at the bottom, we can see all the things that have been shared with me, but I can also see all of the things that I have shared with others. So it's really easy to work out exactly who has got access to my potentially sensitive content and then adjust this appropriately. Lots of other things are available. So for example, on the left-hand side, jobs and schedules through a nice clean interface over here. Maybe it's all of the different data sources that I can connect with. Maybe it's even all of the underlying data credentials that are also managed in a clean, systematic way through the interface. We also have that full-blown data catalog built into the platform, so everything becomes immediately searchable. So if we use search at the top, if I just type Sydney really quickly, we see that data asset that we just uploaded immediately visible. If it's time to connect to new data, maybe I can click SQL and we get to see all of the relevant assets that come back. So whether that's tables, views, stored procedures, you name it. If I jump into one of these for an example, we can quickly see all of the underlying details that are captured as part of that data catalog, all available at my fingertips. So this is server.next from a user's perspective. For those of you that need to look after lots of users, let's take a quick look at the platform administration side. So I'm going to log out, go to a different browser, and this time I'm going to come back in as a full-blown platform admin. So this is the kind of user that typically doesn't care about specific content or sharing. In fact, normally, we don't want a platform admin seeing anybody else's data. We want this person keeping the server up and running, doing things like maintaining the multi-tenant sites that keep hundreds of your users safely within their own departmental boundaries where that's appropriate. Sometimes we just don't want those HR users close to the finance users, and so on. So let's see just how easy it is to create a brand new site from scratch as a platform admin. So over here, I'm going to go into my site section. I'm going to add a brand new site. I'll give that site a name, so I will call that Inspire. Click Next. I will add 25 licensed seats to this particular site, and I'm going to pick a user to act as the site admin, just as I was in the previous example. So, there we go. It's as simple as that. We've created a brand new multi-tenant site called Inspire with a site administrator configured in just a couple of clicks. Now, what's even more slick is that all the steps that we've just seen in the browser are completely automatable through our brand new REST API. So if I was doing this hundreds of times, then we've got a much more robust route to get work done without administration, manual typing errors starting to creep in. This is the industrial way of managing an enterprise analytics server. Okay, so there we go. Your takeaways are server.next, incredibly flexible, incredibly programmable, and lots of potential to scale across the departments in your organization. I'm going to finish up today with one more aspect of how Alteryx disrupts pretty much anything that it touches. It's almost a history lesson of sorts. What made Alteryx the incredible, can't live without platform that it is today? Now, I'm talking, of course, about the Alteryx engine, the secret under the hood of our performance machine that you use every single time you run a workflow. Along with server.next, we've been working on engine.next, a brand new multi-threaded implementation that uses your computer's resources much more intelligently. And this has been a real team effort, both us and you. Every time you post a solution to the weekly Alteryx challenges on Community, we've been feeding engine.next all of your workflows, comparing side by side with the current platform. We also looked at how modern computer stacks might also affect performance, taking a small, medium, and large compute environment and throwing engine.next against each of these, while also varying the amount of data that we pumped into each challenge. I'm going to give you the high-level results, but the takeaway is engine.next really shines when we give it lots of data and lots of compute to process it with. So on this slide, you are seeing the percentage improvement of engine.next over the current engine in those like-for-like tests. So for each test, you've got 3 bars representing small, medium, or large test machines, and the pattern is actually very, very clear. The more compute you give us, the faster we get. It's pretty much linear scalability from the textbooks, and it makes our Director of Product Strategy and our engineers very, very excited. Engine.next is still incubating, but we're hugely encouraged by the results so far. For you all as customers, you can now test the performance for yourselves as part of the beta program. Okay, we've covered a lot this morning. Thank you for being patient, but you've seen disruptive innovation in so many forms and at so many points in your analytic journey. Now, whether you're just embarking on those first steps with self-service analytics, whether you're making the move to unleash your capabilities around advanced analytics, or citizen data science, or whether you're ready to scale that disruption across your entire company or beyond. Alteryx is there for the journey. So thank you. Have a great Inspire. Ashley, back to you.
Thank you, Nick. Fantastic job. So Nick reviewed with us ways that we're going to help you enhance the way that you embark in self-service analytics with things like Mapbox integration, trace fields, the interactive results grid, and more. He also showed you how we'll help you unleash advanced analytics with assisted modeling, which is a guided utility to help the code-free analysts build models. That is available in beta today. And of course, at the end, he showed you our next generation server that is built for flexibility and scale, also available in beta. But to become a breakaway company by building a culture of analytics, innovation is key. And we've been hard at work to provide you just that. Now, innovation in a lot of cases can't happen overnight, so now let me talk to you about some things that are coming later this year and beyond. We've heard from some of you that your companies no longer want to install software and maintain upgrades on local machines, so we've been hard at work on moving designer capabilities to the browser. Sign up, log in, get started. Designer in the browser is in the works, and we can't wait to hear your feedback in betas coming later this year. And to accelerate our efforts in making modeling easy for everyone, late last year we were pleased to introduce Feature Labs as part of the Alteryx family. Feature Labs will bring automated feature engineering and deeper modeling automation to the Alteryx platform, and eventually capabilities around an auto ML server. And we will continue to deliver on our promise for one Alteryx platform for your data science and analytic processes. We'll do this by empowering you to build, share, govern, and scale your analytics models in one place on one platform. We've got a great week planned for you to learn best practices along the modern analytics journey. Visit our Solution Center where you'll find Alteryx experts that can help you amplify your current Alteryx experience. Learn from your fellow customers on how they're taking the modern analytics journey in our customer sessions. Attend our tech sessions where you will hear directly from the product and engineering team on how we are thinking about delivering on your requests, and get a glimpse into what we're doing around industry and line of business solutions at our brand new Alter Zone. We're continuing to deliver you a platform to amplify every step of your modern analytic journey, and can't wait to see your digital transformation outcomes using the Alteryx Analytics platform. And finally, I'm proud to be part of a company that is also focused on social outcomes and doing good for the world. Now, to tell you more about our amazing Alteryx for Good Foundation, I'd like to welcome Dean back to the stage.